My job as a producer has been heavily helped by making type beats on the internet, and over the last 3 years, I've had a lot of time to improve my workflow and sound. Nowadays, I don't really find myself desperately looking for plugins to download and test out. I'm pretty happy with what I've got so far. So from instrument plugins to general mixing plugins and efficiency plugins, I want to share with you a list of plugins that help me go from hobbyist to producer. Fair warning, you don't need these plugins to get better at production, nor will these plugins make you magically an amazing producer. And like anything, you get what you give. Put work into learning any plugin, and you'll benefit from that plugin. As a folk, rock, and pop producer, I use a lot of acoustic drums. My go-to is Superior Drummer 3. It's a no-brainer with the amount of customization and mixing and varieties of drums you got. It's pretty amazing. However, it's super expensive, so next in line is SSD 5.5. I use it quite a bit. It's more of a polished sound. There's less customization to it, but it sounds great, and it's pretty cheap. I think it's like $100, $150. I prefer to have more options to mold a sound, but SSD 5 sometimes is just perfect. Taking a step away from drums, I'm going to look at synths now. You already know 𝗕𝗘𝗢𝗠𝗘. 𝗕𝗘𝗢𝗠 is amazing. It's super customizable. I don't even know how to use it fully. I just use it to make pads and simple stuff like that fill out a mix. There's a ton of useful online tutorials on how to use it, and you can make anything from a sine wave to a dubstep growl. Faceplant is the same sort of thing, though I'd say it's more customizable. You can do a lot more stuff with it, and there's more effects. I prefer it a little bit more over 𝗕𝗘𝗢𝗠, and you can also blend a lot of oscillators together. It's my go-to for making very textured pads. As for anything analog Lab 5. I use it, I think, on every single production. I think there's very few sessions that I don't use it on. It's an amazingly flexible plugin. I use the DX7, the Juno, the piano stuff a lot, the strings, the Rhodes. It's just got every keyboard you need, really. You've got your go-to sounds like the DX7 and the Juno and the piano and the strings, but if you want to experiment with some more stuff, there's like tons of patches. You can just flip through and find something that sounds good. I use piano in tons of my beats. My top 3 piano plugins would be Spitfire Labs, the soft piano, and they have a pretty good Grand too, but I love the soft piano, and it's free. Everything by Spitfire Labs is free. The UAD Grand Rhapsody for if you want like a natural sounding, just raw piano. Not a lot of patches on it, and there's like 5. They all kind of sound similar, but it's really good for just a regular ass piano sound. And Analog Lab 5 is great. You got tons of patches for piano. I love the cinematic stuff. The jazz stuff is really good too. I'd say I use Analog Lab 5 and Spitfire Labs the most, just because I tend to use piano for atmospheric and vibey sounds. Now, for compression, I won't get too in-depth on the sound of these compressors. That's for a different video. I'm actually making a course on compression at the moment, but my go-to compressor plugins are the following. Focusrite Red is free. It's awesome. It's clean. It's a nice VCA compressor. It's my choice for a rear bus. If you don't know what a rear bus is, I think I'll make a video on that too, actually. The UAD LA2A, it's a go-to. It was free for a little while in November. It's awesome. It's smooth. It's a go-to compressor for vocals or bass. The UAD or the Arturia 1176 emulations, they're fantastic, really great for taming transients, great on vocals, great on guitars, great on drums. I use them on drums all the time. Anything that needs to be controlled. And of course, when in doubt, you can always use the Waves editions of all these plugins. Not a huge fan of Waves, but they're cheap. Now, Reverb. There's only a few plugins I use for Reverb, and I stand by these plugins through and throughout. I don't even know if that's a saying. Valhalla Vintage Verb, been using that since I started music production. It's amazing, always sounds amazing, hard to not sound amazing. Reverb Suite Classics, really good for room sounds. I like it specifically on drums, for drum room sounds. There's a couple of Chris Lord Algae presets that are really good that I like. And Valhalla Shimmer, amazing for atmospheric stuff. If I ever need a pad, atmosphere, something to fill out a mix, Valhalla Shimmer is the go-to. For EQ, FabFilter Pro Q3, it's everyone's go-to. You should probably know about it. It's got cool options like dynamic EQ and EQ matching and stuff, but even if it didn't have that, it'd still be an amazing EQ plugin. Any Pultec emulation, I use the UAD stuff, but I also use the Noise Ash stuff. Both really good. It's awesome for top end. It's awesome for low end. You can pretty much swap any Pultec for Fresh Air by Slate Digital, which is another plugin I use, by the way. That plugin is fantastic. That's definitely an honorable mention. And the Hitsville Mastering EQ, fantastic. I always use it. I use it on every single master chain, probably 98% of them at least. Incredible plugin. Really finishes off your mixes. Now, I use a ton of amp sims. All my beats have guitar on them. I can't remember the last time I made a beat without guitar. I search for good amp sims all the time, and this is what I found. The best amp sim is anything made by Neural DSP. Specifically, I use the Pliny X. It's got a lot of options. It sounds really good. You can get soft tones. You can get overdriven tones. It's fantastic. I also use THU from Overloud. Very customizable. The premium edition is really good. The Slate edition is pretty good too, actually. It's much cheaper. It's a part of that Slate bundle. I used it for a long time before I upgraded. For any raw and roomy sounding recordings, if you want something like a Zach Bryan thing or like a punky sort of thing, I use a lot of Amplitude 5. It's great. It's much less polished. You have to do a lot more work, but I kind of like that. And for any rock-centered stuff, or all the pop-punk stuff I do, and all the indie rock stuff, I use 𝗕𝗘𝗠𝗕𝗘𝗥 Suite. Okay, now into efficiency and workflow. These plugins have saved me a lot of time. I use Track Spacer to sidechain EQ. It's not extremely customizable, but it works and it's fast, and if you just need to make space, it's perfect. It saves a lot of time. The Swiss Army meter, it's a Max for Live plugin. It's fantastic. It shows you your LUFS, it shows you your phase correlation. It's awesome. It's at the end of my mastering chain just to check all my specifications. Also shows you your true peak, so that's good. And Knock is a go-to plugin for drums. It does exactly what it says it does. It knocks. I mean, there's punch, saturation, there's high end and clipping, one other thing. I don't know. Decap is amazing. You can always have faith in Decap. It's a fantastic plugin. Now, there's a lot of plugins. I'm not saying you should get them. In fact, you might as well just get one plugin from every category I talked about, and you'll be pretty well off. Or as a compressor head, just get every single compressor plugin you can possibly get. Or you can just get a distressor emulation. Distressor is like a Swiss Army knife of all compressors. Might save you a little more money. Hell, if you don't want to spend any money, use your DAW stock plugins. A lot of the most recent videos I've been making are coming with the Ableton racks. They're all stock plugins, so you don't have to buy any plugins separately. You just put it on. It's pretty plug and play. You can check the description for those. Not in this video because we're not making anything in this video, but yeah, use your DAW stock plugins. They're amazing. Thanks for watching. Comment anything you want help with, or reach out to me on Instagram if you want any help. Again, you do not need these plugins. These are just my favorite plugins. And as someone who was always looking for the next new plugin to try out, realizing now that I got all the plugins I need, it's kind of a cool thing. All right, see you next week.